I'd like to be targeting the new week opening gap because it hasn't been traded to. Just opened up and ran out of it. And there's the sell side here, and then the midpoint of the new day gap. So I'd like to see a return down to this. Um, and I think I'd like to see this low taken. But there is a minor buy side up here that it could come up to first and offer a premium. There's like no news this week. Bullish SMT on NQ. I want to see these highs taken first. Taking a lot of liquidity here. If we hold the new week opening gap, then I think that would be something to use to go higher. It's first presented. Equal highs here, and then the high of day, and then these highs. Dang, look at that. I was just about to say I like this as inversion. I was just about to place an order for it, and it snapped away from it like that. Really like all of these stacked highs they've put in here. It's my fill. Want it to hold the midpoint of this inversion. Okay, I'm going to demand that it keep going, and I'm just going to go to break even. So that makes it real easy. Okay, I'm out there, break even. See, it's kind of high resistance liquidity right now. So being really demanding like that makes trading really easy. Because it already, and that's probably a stop out. It'll probably go take that low. But it offered price all the way to the low of the inversion and then passed it even. So it offered a really deep discount if it's going to be bullish. Whenever it closes above the midpoint and then the next candle runs all the way up to here, it needs to just have continuation if it's going to be bullish and preferably not come down back to the inversion. So getting out break even there just makes it really easy. I lost 46 cents, so no big deal at all. And that's likely gonna be a full stop out on that. So it held the midpoint of this wick here. Went to the mid gap closure, that blue line. Way too busy. Um, there's a bullish SMT here. ES took that. So that's interesting. I do think it's going to go higher, at least short term, up to this high here. It's just about macro. There is the SMT here, so I could look for an entry back inside of the inversion. Um, might not even offer that. No. This could be a soup to go lower. Really kind of uncertain today. ES has actually taken out this low. I said I wanted to see this low potentially. ES has already done that. I think I'd like to use Friday's first presented for a scalp higher because I think it's going to run higher now that it's traded lower and then come up above these highs. I think it'll run for the buy side here for the macro. That daily order block midpoint. Used to run up pretty quick. This could still be a soup, but I like the idea of coming up for this liquidity pool. Just to go higher right now on this candle. Getting kind of a bad feeling about this trade. Needs to leave this first presented from Friday and go higher. Needs to do it pretty quick. All right, I'm going to demand that it goes. Okay. Needs to just rip higher now. Okay, that's my break even. So it could still obviously go without me. I'm just being really demanding because it could also be souping these highs and then come back down for these equal lows. And it's already offered enough in this first presented from Friday. It offered sell side here, and then it offered buy side here, and then came back down all the way through it on my entry. And I was wanting it to just touch the high of it and then continue going higher. And so whenever it leaves it like this, I don't really want to see a return back into it. And as you can see, it's not going. My stop was below this wick. I think the odds of that getting hit are getting higher and higher the longer it sits here and doesn't go. I'm looking at a 5-second chart. There is a little bullish turtle soup right here potentially at the lows of these candles. And we did close above the midpoint of that Friday's first presented. So if it were bullish, it would go higher on this candle. And then all the consecutive candles after that would just continue going higher. If this one closes like slightly higher and then the very next one comes back down into the range again, I'm not going to assume it's going to go higher. I'm going to lean back down into the range. What I tell you, this candle just closed with a wick really. It didn't do anything, and then the very next candle goes lower. So there's no news at all this entire week. Um, there's FOMC minutes, I think, on Wednesday, but that's not important. That's technically labeled as high impact, but it's not really that important. Uh, and then there's medium impact, a couple medium impact news drivers. Other than that, there's nothing. And today, there's absolutely nothing in terms of news, and it's Monday. Because there isn't anything later in the week, and there's no news today, I think it makes sense that it's high resistance like this. If there was high impact news on like Thursday or Friday, or just later in the week, Monday could be better for trading. But because there's nothing all week, it would make sense that Monday kind of sets up the rest of the week. Um, and the bias really wasn't just looking at the liquidity that's available right now. It isn't obvious which one it wants to go to. There was this. This was obvious, but you couldn't participate in that unless you were trading pre-market at 7 a.m., the 7 a.m. open, pre-market open. If you were trading that, then this is a really obvious draw, and that's where it went to really easily. But that was met pre-market. So that objective got accomplished, and then the new week opening gap is also an obvious place to target because it hasn't traded back to it yet. Um, so that's kind of the draw initially, but then they generated buy side above the market as well. So we were in between two separate liquidity pools um, at market open, and it has been consolidating or accumulating between the both of them, working both sides of the market. And that would have been the stop out on that trade, on that entry here when I got out break even. It would have just now stopped out. And I anticipated that um, 7 minutes ago, 7 candles ago. Hmm. Now that it's 10 o'clock, it could go ahead and loosen up a little bit. Um, but I want to see one side of the market get taken first. So if I want to see the buy side up here, the low of day needs to get taken before that happens. If I want to feel confident in it coming up to the buy side here. Hmm. While it's not doing anything, I'll talk a little bit about last Friday's um, analysis and what I called because it ended up meeting it pretty perfect. That's the TGIF retracement for the week. It's a 20 and 30% retracement of the week's range. And that will happen on Thursday or Friday at the end of the week. Um, if it makes sense. And it made a lot of sense last Friday because there was sell side right here below the market and right here, right at that 20% retracement. And then they had all the stacked sell side here. And so I called the liquidity below the market here. And then as a best case scenario, I said it's a 30% retracement if you wanted to leave a runner on. And it went to that 30% retracement. And it went a little bit past it to the low of the daily fair value gap that we've been trading inside of right here. So if I go to a daily, I can pull that up. This large daily fair value gap, this looks messed up. It's not. If you hit the set, it shows a volume imbalance there. So that's what I'm using. The low of this daily fair value gap is right around 30,000, 30 even. So if you go back to the 1 minute, and then that's the 30% retracement of the week, it reached below that just a little bit to go to the low of that daily fair value gap, and then that was the low of day. And that formed at 11:50 a.m. And then I said these highs would be really nice for the lunch macro if they were left intact. Lunch macro didn't end up running it. Now, it did have a retracement into the range up towards that as the draw. But let's see, right around, it's interesting. So it accumulated a lot down here near the low of the daily fair value gap and then the 30% retracement of that weekly range. The lunch macro set up the afternoon, the PM session run to the liquidity because it accumulated during that time. So it did end up taking that. Oh, interesting. So it got really close to it. End of day at 4:59 p.m. It's just a couple handfuls of points away from that draw that I had. And then the new week opening gap this week, so yesterday, Sunday at 6 p.m., it snapped up above that buy side there that I called. So I got pretty close to low of day. I wasn't trying to find the low of day. If I was, I would have probably, the low of the daily fair value gap is right there. So that's pretty obvious if you're looking for this level, that the next one would be right there. And you could use projections to help find it as well, but practically found the low of day and then called a nice run higher for the buy side here. So that's just an update because that wasn't shown in Friday's recording. So that's just kind of a follow-up. Just took the sell side on the market. And we're holding the new week opening gap and took sell side. So now that we've done that, I feel a lot more confident trying to get the buy side up here, and it's after 10 o'clock. If there was medium impact news, like last Friday, there's medium impact at 10, and they held the market like this up until 10 and then let go of it. There isn't news today, but 10 o'clock is typically a key time of day where the market will turn around. And if it's in high resistance like this, I don't think it's a bad idea to anticipate it letting go or loosening up and then running for liquidity. And it's taken that sell side and now it's running really aggressively. back up into the range. So I really like the idea of these highs getting taken now. Like the idea of using first presented to get in. It might not offer it though, because if it has loosened up and if it's actually going to run like it should, it might not offer that. There's kind of a breaker here, a little bit. It's a swing high and then a run below liquidity, and now we're breaking up above that. So this could act as a breaker here. See if I can't snag the high of that first presented. And then my stop is below the midpoint of this wick. Which is really just the high of the new week opening gap. Okay, that's annoying. It got one tick away from my fill and then ran away. 200 even, and this low is 200 and 1/4. So one tick away from my fill there and then snapped away from it. That's been happening a lot lately. Happened like 3 times last Friday. Hmm. And it's probably not coming back down there. If it's actually going to do what it's supposed to do and run higher, it's not going to offer that a second time. So I'm just going to cancel that. So that's really annoying because I could be at break even already within seconds, but it just got one tick away from that fill. We are outside of macro now, so it could kind of accumulate in here up until maybe 10:20, but I feel like it's done enough of that. It's accumulated all morning. We just took the sell side. I think it's pretty likely it'll just run pretty smoothly up to the highs at this point. Hmm. It's annoying. Just one tick off from that fill. If I traded more than one contract, I mentioned this potential breaker here, and I only use the body. If I use the entire range, be curious to see. And I don't even know if that actually counts as a breaker, technically, but it's kind of like a breaker, so I just noted it. But if I traded more than one contract, because that was there and I said it might not offer first presented, I could have put one on here and then added to it if it offered first presented. So I would be guaranteed to have a position in. Um, but when you only trade one contract, you have to be pretty precise with your entry. If you trade three or four or five, you can build a position depending on how deep of a discount it offers. If you can just figure out where it shouldn't go, like where your stop loss is going to go, then you can add to a position as close to that as possible. Like if it's going to offer deep discount, then you can just continue adding. But that first initial entry can be pretty high above your stop loss just to kind of get a guaranteed position if you're worried that it's going to run pretty quickly. I could see it like souping this little low here and using first presented. I just don't know. Looking good for higher prices. And I said that um, if it's going to run like it should, if it's going to be bullish, it shouldn't offer that. Like this candle here should have been the one opportunity that it offers discount. And then it shouldn't really come back down a second time. So I canceled the order. And then the second time it came down to that, it ripped through it. All the bodies are holding the midpoint of the new day opening gap, which is kind of interesting. It's tempting to look for a long down here. It's 1020. Um, right now, the only thing that's really obvious is this buy side right here. And then it's stacked a lot of buy side all morning. And with ES already trading down to these lows here, I don't know how bearish I really want to be short term right now. Hmm. Technically, my first entry here would have been profitable because my stop was below this low. But I don't care about that at all because whenever this candle comes in, uh, I'm happy getting out break even at that point. It's just highly manipulated in here. Um, but technically, it wouldn't have been stopped, and it would have had a decent move higher. But if I'm targeting this buy side, if I'm like really going for that, pretty good odds that I'd be stop break even anyway. It would have offered profit, it would have gone to break even, and later on it would have been the same exact outcome. That's interesting. We just stabbed that really aggressively. Those lows there, and then we're snapping back out of that really quickly here using the new week opening gap. And there is bullish SMT on NQ at those higher time frame lows that I talked about. This looks higher. It's really tempting to get in on this wick here. It's 10:25. It's kind of a weird time. I could see 10:30 um, sending price higher. Hmm. Having some tech issue. It's lagging. Okay. It's really tempting getting in on this wick somewhere. See the reaction when we dip into that? This seems like smart money accumulation here. This is what that looks like to me. Because they broke below the market, and this looks like a bear flag for retail, and there's buy side above the market. Hmm. So we just tripped minor buy side here. That generates sell side below this low, and even this low. But I feel like it's not going to come down to there because I think this is smart money accumulation. Um, let's see. I think 10:30 might be the time. The full gap closure is down here, but they may not offer that. Look at that. Snap back up. This looks really bullish to me. Hmm. I wish I would have gotten in on this wick, like I said, but I'm going to try to get in on this wick here. Assuming we close above it, I'd like to get a retracement down into that, I think. I think it's going to go quick too. think it's going to go really fast up to the buy side. That's what I'm using. All right, that's my fill. Also a fair value gap right here. One of this wick. It's right there. Stops below that. I think it'll run pretty quick higher. This is my full target right here. This inefficiency is going to be really important to get through. That should be an inversion for value gap. And I'd like it to start holding the midpoint of last Friday's first presented. So this I'm going to label bullish inversion. And this is anchored to the daily fair value gap lower quadrant here. And it's anchored to the midpoint of that wick. It's a really important level here. And it should be inversion if it's bullish. So I want to see it snap through that pretty quick. I want to go to break even, but I feel really confident in this, and I don't want to get wicked out. It should stay above the midpoint of this wick here, and my entry is below that. But it could wick, touch my entry one more time, and then come back up. So I'm trying to just let it breathe a little bit. And I think this would be a really good time to see an actual run against the people trying to go short. I think if we get a body closing above the midpoint of this inversion, I will go to break even, because at that point, I would have the midpoint of this wick, last Friday's first presented, and the bullish inversion. All of that should be supporting price. So I would have a lot to kind of defend my stop loss. It is holding that though. I don't like that it's holding the low of this. But I really want to give it a good chance here. That's really nice. Just soup some lows here. Really strong reaction back up. Check ES. All right, so that's my entry. Now I want to see it snap back up into this range really quickly. Nice. See that? If I had gone to break even, I'd be out break even, but it immediately snapped back higher. If it breaks above these highs, I'll go to break even. I might go right now. I might demand that it goes and goes because it's offered my entry twice now. And because it has already come down that second time, like I talked about, now I think it would be good to be demanding. But I also like to see these highs tipped first. That would make me a lot more confident. I'm going to go to break even and demand that it keeps going. Okay. It spends a lot of time in here. It looks really bullish. All the bodies are staying above the midpoint of first presented here. I think I called that Friday's first presented earlier. That's first presented of today. This is Friday's. If it stops me break even here, I don't care. It's spent enough time and it's reached down for that entry twice now, so I'd prefer it leave that liquidity intact and it head higher very, very soon. Internal highs just got tipped, so now I feel really good just being at break even. I don't like how long it's taking. It's taken a long time. I don't like that. I'm probably going to stop break even. Just close below the midpoint of the first presented. And it's spent so much time here. It really needs to get going immediately. That's nice. Yeah, put a body below that midpoint just a little bit after holding it all this time. So that's kind of a warning that you know, it might come back down. This candle's coming back down too. This has been an extremely key level here. Price has just stopped right there, and it needed to get through it and use it as inversion. It still might, but it's just spending a lot of time. It is holding the midpoint of this wick still, so that's good. There we go. So it needs to accelerate through that pretty quick now that it's taken these highs. That's really good. Really, really good. If we get a close above this, I feel a lot more confident um, of it getting a pretty quick run up above all of this. Yeah, that's it's really challenging right now. That wick coming in and it closing below the midpoint doesn't build confidence. But I feel really comfortable being at break even at this point. I think if it's bullish, it's not going to stop me out. Um, I think it's positioned really nicely. And if it's bearish, it's at break even. So this is pretty much a perfect spot to be in. I really don't like that it's stabbing really deep into this and then closing really low. And there's equal lows down here, right where my break even stop is placed. That's not looking so good for the trade. Hmm. Hmm. Almost 1050 macro. That's what it could be waiting on. I just hope it doesn't uh, sweep my position out. Touched the high first presented and snapped off of that. Okay, there's a body above the midpoint of this inversion. That's really good progress being made there. It'd be really nice if it started running higher ahead of the 1050 macro. Um, and then 1050 just accelerate it higher. If it started running ahead of that, that would be really good. Looks like that might happen. So let me annotate this minor buy side. I want it to start kind of like exploding higher really, really fast. So when it tips this high, I don't want it to just sweep it. I want it to displace through it and attack the high of day. I do feel really confident in it going higher now that we've overcome this key level here. I said it would be extremely important, and we spent just about 30 minutes, um, well, maybe like 15 minutes chopping in the lower portion of that, and now that we're above it, I like that. Hmm. I do wish I would have snagged an entry down here when I said this looked extremely bullish. I just didn't have the confidence in it, but that ended up being a perfect place to get in long. Would have made this back and forth a lot easier to deal with. I could have gone to break even extremely early. Emily James, are you a real person or a bot? Should just clarify that real quick. 1050 macro. I want to see it start running higher, and I want to see inefficiencies left open. This one was left open, which is really nice. That's behaving as a breakaway gap. Tapped into it twice with wicks, then didn't trade back to it, and now we're accelerating through the buy side here. That's really good. Want to see low resistance now up to my target. ES hasn't moved at all. Still stuck down here, which is interesting. Don't want this to be a soup. This needs to hold as bullish inversion for value gap. So this isn't preferable. I'm not going to move my stop because it's high resistance and I want to give it all the wiggle room it needs. Um, but as long as it holds this bullishly, I think it still looks good to go higher. I went to the low of it and then closed above the midpoint, so that's positive. I'd like this to be the last kind of bearish looking move lower. Like this is the last time it's trapping retail shorts. And then after this high gets broken, I want to see it just real easy run up to high of day and then my full target. Hmm. It's not looking too bad. It reached to the low of the inversion, and then all the bodies stayed above the midpoint. And now we're snapping outside of it and above it. Um, so that's not looking too bad. be really nice to see right at 11 o'clock the open of the new hourly candle. It would be really nice to see that run pretty immediately after that opens at 11. It's looking really good, actually. The fact that it held this the way that it did and how it's leaving it, this is looking really good. All right, so now that we're above that high, earlier I said I want this to be the last kind of bearish looking move to trick retail into going short. And then after this high is taken, I want to see a really easy move higher. So now that's happened. And 11 o'clock is in about 1 minute and 40 seconds. So it's lining up pretty perfect. I also said I want to see the new hourly candle just accelerate higher immediately. It's looking pretty good. Take this side as well. Nice. That's perfect. So let's see. $100 profit is just about at 240 and a quarter, I think. Yeah, like 240 even. So I'm going to label that. And I don't want it to be green because I have a lot of green lines in my chart already, but I'm going to annotate that as $100 profit. Um, so as this moves higher, that's where I'll tighten my stop to lock in a partial. Since I only have one contract, I have to use the stop loss to lock in partials. It's 11 o'clock. I want to see it just kind of accelerate. It's looking really good. See ES start to run for the buy side here. All these inefficiencies left open. That's really nice. Mm. That's an immediate rebalance on the 5 minute. Let's move lower. Just about anyway. So I want to see the upper half of Friday's first presented support price. Preferably, it doesn't even go to the midpoint and it just keeps going. Because what retail is going to try to do is short double tops here because it's stuck in a range. They're viewing it as it's still stuck in this range. And so they're going to try to short the highs of the range and they're just going to keep running against them. It's really going to break out of the range, but they're not anticipating that. Just about taking this high here, contemplating when I want to go ahead and lock in that $100. I'll for sure do it when we take high of day, for sure. But I'm not sure if I want to do it when this high is taken. Back up to that daily order block, threshold. See that right there? It needs to break through that. If we get a body up above that, I feel extremely confident in these highs up here because it's held it with the bodies all morning. So it's been a very precise level that's been used. So if we get a body up above it now, that's telling me it's very bullish. I think I should pay myself because this is a really good trade. This has been in really, really challenging conditions. So I think I should pay myself. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten in that stop loss and make $100. If I had multiple contracts, I would be taking some off up here for sure. So I need to just go ahead and tighten that up. There's high of day. It's looking really good. Getting pretty close to that buy side up there. I think it's pretty much guaranteed at this point that that's going to get hit. Pretty much guaranteed. I don't see it not taking that out. Something to note would be the event horizon of that high and this high. If we get a body closing above that, I'll make it purple, usually make it a special color. See how it stops there? If we get a body above that purple line, the odds of it taking that buy side go up a lot. I don't see how we don't take those highs because why not? It's so close to the current uh, market price. And we just took high of day. It makes a lot of sense to go ahead and go take that out. And there it is. That's awesome. That played out exactly as I said it should. That's not too bad of a run in really, really challenging conditions. That was a, let's see, $187 profit in about 30 minutes. It's not too bad. The majority of people on the planet lost money in all of this back and forth price action, and I traded the back and forth price action twice, but they were both break-even stop outs because I was being extremely demanding with what I wanted to see. And then I called a move higher with high confidence right here at the low of day, but I just didn't have the confidence to get in. And that's just a lack of experience. But I saw it and felt really, really confident. I just don't have enough repetitions of actually placing an order at that price and actually getting in there. But I got in on the secondary entry here using this Wix high, because that's a discount wick whenever we trade above it like that, and it's also overlapping a breakaway gap, and all of that happened at right around 10:30. And so I was in all this consolidation here. I was in at the low of that consolidation. And then once we got a body closing above this inversion for value gap, I said that I would feel really confident in this high getting taken. We got a body above it. We went and took this minor buy side and then came down and souped out people trying to go long with tight stop losses. We souped them out. And I said I wanted it to hold the inversion. It did perfectly. It went to the low, and the bodies closed above the midpoint. And I said I want that to be the last bearish looking move to trap shorts. And then once this high is taken out, I want to see a really, really easy run for my target. And I said I wanted 11 o'clock to offer a really easy run to my target. This high got taken at 10:57 a.m. It accelerated through it, and then 11 a.m. hits. It moves lower just a little bit, and it goes right to, actually, right above this high that I said that was the level I wanted it to run through. Very small retracement at 11, and then it ran straight up to my target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive up close candles straight to my target. And now it's running lower. So that's extremely precise trading in a really, really challenging market condition. Chart looks like really, really busy. Kind of annoying how busy the chart can get. But I think I used all of these levels. Like, I don't think there were any of these levels that I wasn't actively paying attention to. That wick was my entry, and yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's like an amazing trade. I'm really, really happy with that. Last Friday, I called the market extremely well, extremely accurately, but I lost $50 that day. Because the one thing I wasn't anticipating, I wasn't even wrong about it necessarily, it's just something that I wasn't considering, was this back and forth price action ahead of the 10 o'clock news. If I had anticipated that, I would have made a lot of money that day. Once the 10 o'clock news hit, I called it very well. But I did lose $50 that day. And I also called the lunch macro, but I was unable to trade that. So lost $50 last Friday. This morning I made 188. So I took care of that plus extra profit. So that's really nice. So yeah, morning session's pretty much done. So I might come back for the afternoon session, or I might just be done for the day. Depends on what it's looking like. So that'll be it for now.